Oh yeah, friends and fam, welcome back to another episode of Captain Coleslaw Outdoors with yours truly. And today, we got all the deeks out, and we're going to explain to you the essentials of waterfowl decoying. Now, you can see all the decoys I have up here are Canada geese, but these same principles that we're going to talk about today can be applied to duck hunting, snow goose hunting, even crane hunting, crow hunting, if you know what you're doing. There's a lot of different decoys out there, and they all run in different situations. They have their different hunting strategy benefits, but there are also some cost-effective issues that go with choosing decoys as well. And today we look to hash out the differences in decoy forms in order to help you make a choice that is going to help you put birds in the bag, but not break your wallet. So our goal for today is to break down 5 different styles of waterfowl decoys and break down the pros and cons of each of them from a strategy standpoint and from a price standpoint. So the first form of decoy that all waterfowlers should have are floaters. They have a keel underneath them on the bottom here, which is weighted, which will keep it upwards in the water column, and then you can actually attach a tethered weight and line to the decoy so it'll hold in place no matter where the decoy floats. There's a reason to call waterfowl. They love water, whether it be rivers, swamps, lakes, ponds. There's all kinds of applications for floater decoys and the different strategies that go into them. There's high-priced decoys and low-priced based off of detail, quality, the quality of the materials, and it's really up to you to determine how much money you want to spend on floaters. But if it's up to me, if you're going to be hunting waterfowl anywhere near the water whatsoever, you need good floaters, like these Higdon Canada goose decoys that have a flocked head, so it's actually kind of felted and textured, so it looks very bird-like up close. You get what you pay for in floaters, and they work. So if you have a good floater set, I own 8 beautiful goose floaters, and I own about 20 mallard duck floaters and 20 wood duck floaters for different hunts and different strategies. So floaters are just a good decoy that you want to have for just about any waterfowl situation that you could potentially find yourself in. Now, I could do a whole episode on floater decoy variety, but what I really want to spend the meat and potatoes of this episode talking to you about are terrestrial-based decoys. So decoys you can use on land. So a lot of people are going to be doing something called trafficking birds, as you've seen in the Slaw vlogs in prior episodes, which is we're setting up in a situation between where the birds want to sleep on a loaf and where they want to go feed and stuff their faces. And then we're going to traffic them to these midpoint areas, which could be ponds, it could be fields with grain, it could be open pastures, places that the birds aren't thinking about going to, but if you give them a good reason for wanting to be there, you might just be able to get them close enough for a shot. So there are 4 types of terrestrial decoys that you might use on land in order to help kill waterfowl, whether it be ducks, geese, or the like. So the 4 types of terrestrial decoys we're going to talk about today are silhouettes, socks, full bodies, and shells. All 4 have benefits in waterfowling, especially Canada goose hunting, as you can see. There's different price margins, there's different strategies and benefits, but each has its own legitimacy, and they will all kill geese. None of these rules are foolproof. Every single one of these decoys that we're looking at here, plus many more, are effective at killing geese in versatile situations. A lot of people have different experiences and different opinions on how these decoys work, and you have to take it with a grain of salt. I'm giving you my advice through my experiences, but there are people out there who have done things very differently from what I'm saying and might not see eye to eye with me. But that said, I want to take what I've learned, which has allowed me and my buddies to kill a lot of geese over the years, and help share it with you in order to help you pick the best terrestrial decoys for what you have time to do and what you're willing to pay. So where I want to start are with these awesome silhouette decoys. So silhouettes are 2D, so they're flat. You can't see them from one angle, but when they're horizontal and broad-faced, they stake into the ground just like that, and you can decoy birds with a set like this. Now, one of the biggest benefits of these silhouettes, these are Dive Bomb Industries V2Fs, which have that flocked head, so it's like felt material, as I had mentioned. You can pack a ton of these into a bag and take them anywhere that you would hunt geese. You could be out in fields, you could be using them on riverbanks and lake banks and pond banks. I've used them a ton right up alongside ponds in big massing heaps. Now there's different head positions for all of these decoys. This is a feeder, but when you put a bunch of silhouettes together and you kind of vary the angle that they sit from one position to the other, from one decoy to the other, it looks just as goosey as any other spread out there. And I've killed the vast majority of my birds over silhouettes. The other reason why I've killed a lot of birds over my silhouettes is they are cheap compared to other decoy types. This Dive Bomb case here, which I own, is full of silhouettes. And there are actually probably about, I want to say 7 or 8 dozen decoys in here, which is plenty of Canada goose decoys if you're hunting the greater Canada goose of Pennsylvania and the Northeast. But you can hunt geese anywhere with these silhouettes, and the more the merrier. So when you start getting out into some of these other states where there's lesser Canada geese, which are more migratory by nature, smaller but more numerous, you can get a lot of decoys for the same money as you would some of these other styles going to look like. The cons of silhouettes is they have that 2D function to them. So if you're finishing birds close to your decoys, they might pick up on the artificial nature of the 2D decoy, and they're less likely to land in the spread than maybe some of these other decoy types that we're going to look at. So getting birds close as possible, decoys aren't necessarily the best function for that. Although I have landed them in the decoys, and I know a ton of people watching these videos probably have as well. The second type of decoy we're going to talk about, and one that actually pairs very, very well with silhouettes, are socks. Wind socks, to be specific. So this goose body does extremely well when there's wind like there is right now. I hope the audio of this video works out well. They have a flat head, just like a silhouette decoy. These are the Dive Bomb V3s, which are their sock model that they make. They have that flat head like a 2D goose, but then they have this 3D windsock body, which gives the bird a little bit of a 3D motion to it. Now, the great thing about these socks is when you put them in the ground and there's a little bit of a breeze, the wind will make them move and dance, almost like geese on the ground feeding. So one of the biggest benefits of having sock decoys is that it provides motion to your decoys. It looks like natural birds moving around, feeding on the corn, looking like real geese, and that is going to help birds. Another additional strategy, especially when you pair socks with silhouettes, is from over top, the birds have 3D motion. They have 3D shape, and that looks a little bit more realistic when you pair them with the silhouettes, depending on how you place them and how you situationally use them. So if you're looking for birds in mass decoy quantity without wanting to spend the bang in the buck on them, socks and silhouettes together might just be the best beginner spread, and I highly recommend Dive Bombs just because of their affordability and the amount of birds that I've killed over them. The only con to socks and silhouettes is when the birds that you're working get close to your decoys, they're going to start picking up on some of these nuances in terms of what the birds look like. And that could be the difference between getting your birds to finish at 20 or having them flare at 40, making the shots that you get a little bit more difficult. Now, the next two decoy types I'm going to talk about, we're going to talk about together because they're very similar with a couple major differences. Shell decoys and full body decoys. So together, both of these types of decoys work birds and will bring birds into a close spread. And the ticket is the 3D detail that these birds have compared to the other decoy types. Both of these birds have flocked heads, and a lot of goose decoys do not have the flocked heads, and that will typically reduce the price margin a little bit that you have to pay. But when it comes to Realism. Nothing beats 3D shells and full-body decoys. When birds are finishing close, when they're flying into the spread and they see full-body decoys that have a little bit of wobble on a stake, such as these hardcore magnums that I own, those geese are 100% going to commit unless they see you, the hunter, moving around in the blind getting ready to shoot. Shell decoys are also a great realism decoy, with the big difference, it's only half a bird, hence the name shells. So you can actually stack more shells on top of each other, and that makes transport way easier with shell decoys versus full bodies. And typically they're less plastic, so they're a little bit less expensive. Full body decoys are bar none the most expensive brand of decoy out there. For what it cost me to get 6 of these with stakes, I could probably get 4 or 5 dozen socks and silhouettes. But if I have geese moving close into my spread, looking like they're about to land and they're getting close to what I have to offer them, if they see full bodies, I have the highest confidence that they're not going to flare or do any funny business. Full bodies, shells, silhouettes, and socks all offer their own different, significant features which make them unique in the decoying world. I hope this episode of Captain Coleslaw Outdoors helped you learn a little bit more about these different decoys and what they mean and what they bring to the table. Like and subscribe if this video helped you. Shoot straight. Stay strong. That's it. I'm out.